much is Benjamin?
$100.
Is it?
Yeah.
Did you research that for me?
I did a lot of Googling.
Is that why you threw it in there, just in case?
Yeah, I mean, it's literally a lyric in the in Doo-Wop.
Got any facts about Benjamins?
You do, yeah. I mean, it's the only American dollar bill I know. But yeah, remember when he said he was about the Benjamins? You had to you and him, and then give him a little trim to begin. How are you going to really pretend like he wasn't down when you called him again? Plus, when you gave it up so easy, you weren't even fooling him. And if you did it then, you'd probably fuck again.
Podcast.
You're listening to a podcast. You're listening to some really cool guys. You're listening to a podcast. Find out what's next. Next.
3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to 1001 Albums and Then Death. This week we're going to continue our project to review all songs, the albums in 1001 Albums to Hear Before You Die. This week we have Danny.
Hello.
And Simon.
Hi.
And myself, Chris, and we'll be talking about 3 albums: The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, by Lauryn Hill, Bitches Brew by Miles Davis, and Aqualung by Jethro Tull.
Yeah.
Girl, you've gotta listen to this podcast, 'cause you know you don't wanna miss out.
Yeah, so Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. This is one of my all-time favourite albums. Before I start, I can't say anything. I've been listening to this album since I was about 14 years old, and I've listened to it thousands of times. However, going through and preparing for this podcast, I learned a lot about Lauryn Hill and about the album and about her messages in it. It's one of the great albums. I think one thing that makes an album truly great is an album that you can listen to and first of all just enjoy because the songs are great, and then when you go into it and you can listen to the singing and the music and take something more from that. And then finally, if you actually take the effort to analyse it and step away from it, you can see that when you put it all together, all those songs have a coherent message. And this one, it shows not just a coherent message, but a development in her perspective from where she came from to where she was at the time when she recorded the album.
Example of that message.
So the message of the album is love. I mean, it sounds it's kind of obvious. The album is love. There's all the breakouts in the school, kids talking about love, and a lot of the songs are focused on love. However, it is more than just an understanding of love for another person. It's her deeper understanding of her use of love and her love for other people and her love for herself to communicate and interact with other people. So, if I can give a short breakdown of the songs, and I'll explain that. My perspective on this album.
Song by song.
Hey?
Song by song.
Song by song, yeah. Because I think it's important to do that, because every song is a step in the progression of the album. So, the album starts with Lost Ones. The Lost Ones reflects on her breakdown of her relationship with Wyclef, who she was seeing when they were in the Fugees.
They were together, but he was apparently sleeping around and cheating on her. So Lost One's first song, very angry. It's kind of that post-breakup. I'm angry at you, you've screwed me over, you've cheated on me, I'm better than you, and you've lost me. And she moves on to X Factor, which is then a more sorrowful and reflective song. She is regretful of the breakdown of the relationship and feels sad about it. So the first 2 songs are about a breakup relationship. It's kind of a visceral, personal, emotional response to the breakup. Susanna then talks about her accidentally becoming pregnant when she met Roman Marley, Bob Marley's son, and got pregnant with him. And so instead of following the advice of everyone in her career and her life, she decided to have a child. So again, it's a really nice song, but it's just it's about following your internal feelings. And that's the first turn by the album. So she goes from being somebody who's motivated by her emotions and by her instinctive reaction to feelings. She now turns herself into everything what is the outlet, right? Just right there.
Where am I?
You are in the place where podcasts come to die.
Okay. Why? Why am I here?
You allowed Chris to speak for over 15 minutes, taking each track separately. He had several sides of A4 paper. It was so boring, you broke your podcast.
Oh. Well, that's not ideal, is it? Well, what if I promise not to let him do it again? Can I go back?
Okay, but you can't do it again.
Cool, thanks. See you, bye.
So that is the album. I think it's absolutely wonderful because it's a great sounding album. It's every single. I mean, you pick any line in that album, there is a clever double meaning or wordplay. The entire thing has been written fantastically, and it portrays a message. It's not one of these albums where it's just a collection of songs or there's one or two clever songs in it. The entire thing, every song builds to the message and lays the groundwork for the next one. And then by the end of the album, you can see the progression that she's gone through and how the experience she's had and the things she's been through has led her to be a better, more forgiving person. And she wants to share that knowledge.
However, the music is bland 90s R&B.
No, it's not.
It is. It's because it uses the same tricks over and over again.
Okay.
Like the double vocal, the singing over the top. I mean, there are some interesting bits in it,
Mhm.
like when she raps. So it's only on a few of the tracks on the album, but when she sings, it's so mind-numbingly boring because she does the same thing, and it's just she warbles on, and there's just the same backing track basically laid over each song. It's just boring.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not here to change your mind, you know, if that's what you took from it, then...
What do you think,
Simon, what do you think? Yeah.
I have to agree with Danny.
Oh.
I thought it was... one thing I loved, the pros of the album, her voice is incredible.
Yeah.
She's a great singer. And
Are you talking about the rapping side or the vocalist side?
Just the vocalist side.
Right,
I thought,
okay.
you believe her in whatever she says, or she sounds very forthright and strong as a person. That's fantastic. Loved the slick production. Loved the cool sound. Yeah, if you were going to put this on if you were going to put a record on at any general house party stroke bar in the world, you'd do worse than to put this on. But it's a bit boring. Because anyone, if you listen to any one song, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Times that by 12,
It's
or
too much.
however many songs are on the album, it starts to become a bit repetitive. The same rhythmic ideas, the same general feel is just there again and again and again. And I was looking for less production and because she's got such a good voice. It'd have been nice to have had at least one track on there where you would have said just her voice, maybe with a simple instrument, maybe a piano or just a guitar or whatever it's going to be, just to listen to the quality of her voice. And I felt that it was almost overproduced. Someone really, really went to town on that. They must have used God knows how many tracks overlaid with each other to get that. And I think it was probably just a case of almost too much time in the studio.
Yeah, so the soul's been produced out of it, I think.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. I mean, I couldn't disagree more. Every single song has got a distinct origin. It's normally the songs have been a sample or a reference to a particular song or a particular point in history or a particular artist. Each song takes a different point of origin.
Yeah, but that's very clever for a college project. But it's not. It's supposed to be one of the greatest albums of all time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hit that mark.
But it's not great because all I'm saying is I wouldn't say it sounds samey. I think it takes a variety of inspirations and a variety of sources. It's not great because she's not a songwriter. She doesn't play any instruments. She's a singer who has worked with musicians to put together those arrangements for her based on how she sees them. But what makes it great? That doesn't make it great. That just makes it fine. What makes it great is her singing. But I wouldn't say it sounds boring or samey because every song takes a different influence.
But you said the same thing about Frank Sinatra though. That what myself and Simon are saying now. You said it's great. He's a great singer. His lyrics are all right, and but the music behind it is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But that was still boring. This is the same thing.
I don't think so. I think Frank Sinatra did use the same musical ideas over and over again. I didn't think there was much variety or inspiration in that. Whereas in this, I do think there is. There were different musical styles and decades and artists all referenced in the production of this.
Musical styles. Okay, can you talk about any of the musical styles that you heard in that? Apart from one intro where it was slightly a bit of a reggae drum beat and then went straight back into rhythm and blues again.
Can you name me a song that will be remembered in 50 years' time on this album?
I mean,
Well, the one that Six Music plays all the time, which
Do
is
what?
the hit single. Yeah.
yeah.
But like 6 people listen to 6 Music.
Well, that's
Oh,
why it's
okay.
called Six Music.
It's a damning indictment. The
Yeah,
silence.
the only reason you're struggling is because
The reason I'm struggling
there's nothing there.
No, there is. Like, the reason I'm struggling is because I haven't paid attention to that, and I don't know the background enough to.
Every
say which
great
song's
album
which.
has at least one song in it which is iconic in some regard, whether it's something that rallies people to the barricades or is something that you'd want played to you on your deathbed or whatever. What is that song from this album?
Oh. I love all the songs on this album. Okay, I mean, if you're asking me, like, Doo Wop is my favourite go-to karaoke song, I would say. I think Final Hour...
I'd love to see you sing that in the karaoke.
Final Hour has... I'll do it right now, bitch. Final Hour has my favourite bit of rap, like my favourite rap verse of any song I can think of on it.
What, even better than the rap from Wild Wild West by Will Smith?
One of my top 2 favourite
Even better
raps
than the John
of
Barnes
all
rap
time.
from
One of my
Emotion.
top 3 all-time favourite raps of John Barnes and Wild Wild West. X Factor, like, I mean, like, you could pick any song. Every single song on this album has got something great in it. Like, X Factor's got that really great, like, that chorus, that what you want might make you cry, what you need, gonna pass you by if you don't catch it. I think it's X Factor. When
Well,
it
they all
hits
sound
bad.
the same, so it's, you
When it
can
hits
pick
the
anyone
bad.
you
But
want.
again,
Really.
it's a brilliant like offbeat chorus that just keeps you like you just want to like nod your head to it. It's great.
I think if this album was a baby in me, I would have it aborted.
Yeah. Okay. I would.
While singing Zion.
While singing to Zion. Do you know what's really
Your rationale for this?
So that's just a fun thing to do.
Defend your abortion, please, Dan.
Stick it to them.
Okay, I have one more thing to say on To Zion. I've been listening to this album for like 20 years and know the song To Zion really well. And To Zion, also, Zion has several meanings. It's also used as like a term for, the Jewish homeland, and also like apparently black people in America use it to refer to Africa and the idea of like the homeland and a spiritual homeland.
And the Matrix.
And the Matrix. I didn't know that she named her first kid Zion. So literally To Zion is literally it's like saying like to Jim, to Danny, So I thought she was just talking about this idea of like spiritual homeland, and I actually thought her first kid had died because she's talking about To Zion, and I thought like Zion means like this spiritual place. So I thought she got pregnant, decided to keep the baby, and then had a miscarriage. And so when she's like singing about waiting outside Zion's door, I thought she was like thinking about, when I finally die and go to God, I'll meet this child that I was going to give birth to. I didn't realise she was literally singing about she's had her kid and standing outside his bedroom door listening to him sleep and like feeling peaceful because of that. So yeah, there was quite a lot that I didn't know about the background of Lauryn Hill that I learned in researching this.
Maybe if it was called To Danny, I would have liked it a bit more.
Yeah.
Nice. Or To Simon. I think it was a bit selfish of her not to call it that.
Yeah.
So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd not thought about that, Danny. To be honest, I've overlooked that aspect of her selfishness.
So to summarise,
I
really loved her voice, really loved the slickness, loved the sound, but I didn't enjoy it.
What did you give it in your star list?
I started off with a 2.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
But I upgraded it to a 3 today.
Oh
wow!
So
there you go.
generous.
So it's been
because it is my default position for a piece of an album, that I don't really enjoy, but I see musical talent and credibility in it. So it's not really my thing, but it has a lot going for it in terms of its star quality, and again, she's got a fantastic voice, super produced. Nothing to dislike about it, but there's nothing there which really spoke to me as in if there was one album I was going to put into a spaceship to show the aliens, this is not the album for me.
No,
I assume, Chris, you gave it 2 stars.
I didn't give it 2 stars. I don't do stars. So I guess I've decided not to.
Well, you do stars. You did stars last week. You gave
Yeah,
You gave out stars like
stars.
confetti last week.
Yeah, I did, didn't I? Yeah, I kind of regret. What was the that folk band that we did?
Soapbox Convention.
Yeah, I gave them 5 stars, and I kind of regret that now because
Bringing it back down to a 4.
this is
You had a beer.
You can restar it if you want.
Based on Lauryn Hill being like, you need to have a standard. If 5 stars is this, I mean, this
And
is
Junkyard is 1.
Junkyard is 0. Junkyard doesn't get any stars. But Fairport Convention is 4.5. This is a 5. Or if Fairport is 5, this is a 6. This is one of my favourite albums of all time. You know, this is one of the best pieces of music that has ever been recorded.
Wow.
In my opinion.
Wow.
So
Wow.
5.
There's no accounting for taste.
Could I call in some support from the audience here?
We have a live studio audience.
We have a live studio audience. Polly,
You just want some backup, don't you?
would you like to comment on anything
Well, I
that's
was
been
the
said
astute
tonight? Guys, we have 2 additional guests here. Polly and Rosie in the house.
It was a pioneer of its time, from an R&B, hip hop. I think it's an incredible piece of work. I do, re-listening to it from a completely agnostic point of view, as I try to do when talking to Simon about this, is I can see their perspective that there's a lot of similarities between tracks, but I think that's conducive to the story that she's trying to give from song to song. So it still remains one of my favourite pieces of hip hop work, and it will remain so.
Very good, thank you.
He's found one person.
So, can you introduce us to who these bitches were?
All the people, there's loads of them, because they had like 2 bass players, 3 keyboards, 2 drummers, saxophone, bass, clarinet, like crazy, loads of stuff. Guitarists, electric guitars. So to list all the names would be incredibly boring, so I won't do that. But so basically, we're talking about Miles Davis, Bitches Brew. Straight into it. It was recorded in 1969. Basically, Miles Davis was not very cool at the time. It was been a long time since kind of blew. He sort of petered out slightly, but he was still experimenting, wanted to push himself forward.
Do all his albums rhyme?
Just bitch and brew.
Kind of Blue and Bitches
Kind of brew, bitches brew.
I think he does. Lauryn Hill could make that rhyme.
Yeah.
Just saying. Sorry, carry on.
But so lots has been said about this album. Like the greatest, it was the start of the jazz fusion world, really. Sort of getting that rock jazz thing into the forefront. Free jazz was a thing at the time. So just before we go on to maybe talking about how it sounded, that was already established as a thing. This was more the fusion side of jazz, like taking different genres of music and melding them together. It was recorded basically over 3 days, and it was just really, really long takes. So they'd play a song and they'd just go with it for like an hour, 2 hours, whatever. And then Miles Davis...
Sorry, an hour or 2 hours?
Yeah, and Miles Davis would just cut out the bits he liked and then put it into the record.
God, what did they throw away?
I know, right? So you can actually go onto YouTube and you can find like some of the cuts, like some of the stuff they've taken out. If you're really into that, if you really enjoyed the album.
It's just someone vomiting in a bucket.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what else. Sorry.
But in terms of an album, it was sonically interesting. They were starting to use, it wasn't just a recording of some musicians. They were using delays. They were using amplifiers. They were using reverbs. They were just being more creative, and it's not necessarily something that's been explored, especially to that level of popularity in a jazz album before. So in that sense it was interesting. But let's talk about what you thought of it.
I think that this album...
Well, actually, to be fair, Simon, we already know that this is one of your benchmarks as one of the worst albums in the list. You gave it 1 star, correct?
Correct. I upgraded it to 2 on listening. My reasons.
So now you only have 4 things that are 1 star, because it was 5 things.
True, that's very true. I felt that when you were trying to describe this album, you know the sketch on the Fast Show called Jazz Club, where he's saying, "Good evening, welcome to Jazz Club. Nice." And he goes, "Here we have a band that is an acid, skiffle, jazz, punk, rock, progressive, indie type thing." Like, there were so many different genres of this. It was kind of trying hard to make sense of what you were listening to in that respect. It was very abstract, and it was like listening to weird modern art, as it were. If you imagine like the most obscure, weird, like art installation type thing of listening to anything, this was it. And it was nonsensical, almost anti-music, on the same way that Junkyard was anti-music level. There was clearly some fantastic musicians in that record who somehow managed to blow it for however long that album was.
Do you know what I suspect they got together some really talented musicians, because there was one thing that came across me was that there was a confidence in the playing. Like, I think
it was like a giant jazz masturbation session.
What I think they happened was, so they got,
Jazzturbation.
bass players, flautists, violinists, trumpet players. They got them all together, and then they had a raffle for who played what instrument. And I think a lot of people ended up playing instruments they've never played before. That's the only thing I can possibly explain it, because
that's so rude.
And then they put them all in different rooms.
No, but that's so.
And played different tempos in every single room.
You can't say that about this.
Gave each a different drug to each one.
Yeah.
You can't say that about this, because it's not like that. Like, in the same way, it's not that like that in so far as Junkyard was like that, because the rhythm section is so tight throughout the whole thing. And it's together that you can't say that they were playing completely different things. It may have been off kilter with some of the tonality that you may be used to, but the rhythm section was very tight, and they were very together.
Would you think it's kind to say that it was self-indulgent?
Yeah, of course. I mean, each song was like 20 minutes long. It was too long. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was the best album I've ever heard in my life, but I'm also not going to say that it wasn't like music, because it was. It
was music.
And some of the trumpet playing was absolutely fantastic.
To say it was conceptual,
would
be an understatement.
It's modal. It's more modal than jazz. So it plays around with tonality.
What do we think? Do we like jazz in this? Are we allowed to like jazz in this podcast?
It out.
Definitely allowed to like jazz, but it has to be done with respect to the concept of music. Like, to me, even Junkyard, they were trying to do a thing. They were trying to make music that sounded like let's say punk or Iggy Pop or whatever. They were trying to take something and do a more extreme version of it that was more abrasive and more in your face. Whereas this, I guess they were taking jazz and they were just saying, let's be totally off the wall. But maybe it's the same thing. Maybe they just went too far that way. At the same time, this has now made me question myself, because when we listened to Junkyard, and I was like, God, am I past it? Like, have I lost the ability to recognise genius and good music? Like, am I just now like a square? Have I,
Because Miles Davis is a great musician.
Yeah.
And Kind of Blue is a great album.
Yeah, he's vastly recognised, universally recognised as one of the greats. So how could I listen to this and be like, this is terrible? What's wrong with me? And this is the second podcast in a row now where there's been an album where I've been like, why are so many people saying this is great when I think it's terrible? Is it me? No, it's not me. This just fundamentally does not respect. Maybe they had great fun making it, but I don't think it respects the listener. It's just not good. Like, they might have a great rhythm section, but like, yeah, you can have a great rhythm section, but if every other section of the band is not good, or is not playing in tune or in time or to any kind of structure
or music,
I just don't know how to approach this. It's
hard. I think it's hard to
But
approach.
it could be my musical education because I'm pretty straight down the line with the music I like.
What's your experience with jazz?
Yeah, not much at all.
What's your experience with jazz?
Very traditional, very kind of guitar based, or like trad jazz, or cool San Francisco-y kind of Kenny Burrell.
I mean, I've seen Whiplash. So
Yeah.
I'm not a beginner. I've been in a Starbucks or two. They play jazz, so I know a thing or two. But
So maybe that's the issue then. Maybe it's the fact that it is quite angular and it uses discordance, but the discordance does resolve. I mean, they're all aware of where the resolution is. They're all very aware of that.
What do you think they were trying to achieve with this album?
I just think they're trying to achieve something a bit different. I will agree it can be hard to listen to, but if you could step out of that, and the length of it is difficult as well. I think the length is difficult. The whole album was like 4 sides of vinyl.
Really? Oh.
So it's a long old listen. I mean, if you're off your face on whatever, it's probably really good.
I would say it was almost comparable to something like Napalm Death in the idea that it's so abstractly, it's so in your face, and it's trying to make some kind of crazy noise statement with, like, they were famous for making like 2-second, 3-second tracks. The entire album would be 30 minutes, but there'd be like 28 tracks in it. This is almost on the same level of abstract conceptual noise, but it's just using jazz chromatics rather than...
Maybe I don't know, because there are albums, certainly not on this list, that are way more abstract than that. If you look at, I don't know, have you ever heard much of Frank Zappa's work? So Lumpy Gravy, if you listen to that, it's just recordings of people talking. That's an album of music.
Is that on the list?
No.
Oh, okay.
But listen to it, and then listen to Miles Davis afterwards and tell me what's harder to listen to.
I mean, so just to put this album into context, around the time there was a lot of progressive psychedelic 60s rock and so forth that's going on, which is pretty obscure. You've also then going into the beginnings of prog rock, and this is obviously the jazz iconic album of the time.
So, one thing I always want to think about is, if this album had been released by an unknown artist, would it have gained any attention? If you have to rely on, your previous work to make this thing work.
If this was his first album,
if this was his first album, no one would have paid any attention to it.
I don't know though. Like some of the trumpet work was.
It's a bit gimmicky.
Really? We just had someone around for dinner just before I came out to meet you guys, and I put this on.
Wait, we're your second choice tonight?
That was follow up. Your second dinner. Yeah, but I put this on while we were eating, and I just had to. I just kept on turning it down because the fucking trumpet was so offensive. He just comes in with this awful squealing noise, and we're trying to have a conversation, and you want fine, we weren't listening to it and sat studying it, but it doesn't make good dinner party music because it was awful. And I
should have put Chris Rea on.
Well, like Chris de Burgh or Lady in Red or anything. I just no, it's just
so rude.
Anything is better than this.
Anything. Junkyard.
Funnily enough,
is Junkyard better than this?
I put Junkyard on immediately after this to demonstrate how bad some of the albums on this collection are, and I was asked to turn that off. But so that goes to show it's not as bad as that, because they didn't say, "Can you turn this off, please?" It was when I put Junkyard on, and I put the track Junkyard on, where I am gay. It was that's horrendous. That's a 0. This is a 1 star, because there are odd moments in it, and the things like track 5, like Miles Does the Jazz or something, whatever it's called.
Miles the Voodoo one.
Miles Runs the Voodoo Down. Yeah. That one, I mean, that was like, I always try and pick like a favourite track.
I thought you would say favourite track would be the John, whatever his name is, because it was only like 4.5 minutes.
I think I put Spanish Key as my favourite.
Yeah,
which is
Spanish Key was it was still hard work though.
I really like
John
Brew, like the start of it where it's got the trumpet, and then like it's like call and response. It's got the trumpet, and then like the crashing, like almost like thunder of the rest of the band when the rest of the band come in, and then it sort of does that for a bit, and then it works, and then it sort of like forms into something else towards the end. I thought that's quite cool.
I think you're a deeper person than I am, Danny. I didn't pick up on that.
I feel that what this podcast needs now is you to demonstrate Bitches Brew in contemporary dance form.
Yeah, has anyone got a
Doesn't
video
work
camera?
well for podcasts.
Neither does my face, but it's a good job it's on the radio.
Yeah, I think.
So I think, right, in summary,
Hmm.
no one enjoyed it apart from me.
Hmm.
And that's that.
You're listening to a podcast about nothing at all. You're listening to a podcast, it'll turn you to stone. It'll mush your brain, it'll turn you insane, it'll make you David Blaze. David Blaze, David Blaze, you know my name, it's David Blaze.
So the third album we're going to be looking at is Aqualung. This album was made by Jethro Tull, a British folk rock group. This was the first album they made, which was really basically their launch into the mainstream. It's a classic example of like they had a couple of albums before which was a success, and then this was their first album. They actually specifically made it because they wanted to try and launch themselves into effectively the charts. So they wanted big guitars. They had like a lot of dark heavy metal influences like Black Sabbath. Looking at the context of the time again, we've got Deep Purple coming out, Black Sabbath. We've just had psychedelic rock, but there's also like a strange cultural movement of like naturalism, and seen in things like Fairport Convention. It's seen in things like Pentangle, this type of thing, and there was still a strong element of folk music in Britain. But as you say, they wanted to try and go into the mainstream, so they started to introduce a lot of say big heavy guitar riffs, big drums and so forth. Weirdly enough, they produced it in the same studio as Led Zeppelin for their big Led Zeppelin 4 album. They did it in like a church, and being second dog to Led Zeppelin, they actually had recorded this album in the main church as opposed to like a small room at the side, which would have been a little bit better. And the irony of this is that the entire album is a very anti-organised religion album. The entire lyrics, everything about it is completely anti-church. Rightly or wrongly. Again, just for a bit of context, at this time they just legalised homosexuality. They'd had the liberal reforms. There's a strong social movement against a lot of the establishment, and none as distilled as this album, as it were. In terms of your first impressions, what did you think?
I liked it. I've heard it before. I think that's part of the reason, because we decided last week. I think I picked it for you. The reason for that is because it's good. It's a good album. It's musically interesting. It's got lots of dynamic difference, which I like. Lyrics are interesting. It's just a bit tongue in cheek as well. I like a bit of humour.
Well, as you can probably tell from my intro, I didn't know a lot about them before this, as it were. But I thought this album had a really fantastic kind of troubadour, or it's almost like a smorgasbord of folk music. It kind of has that Celtic influence, and it's so strong and it comes through. But then you get this kind of like metal, prog, rock, medieval. It's almost like
and a jazz flute on top.
Yeah, it's almost like if Henry VIII had a house band, it would have been Jethro Tull, and I think it's quite cool for that. As you say, he's got like mixing like flute, heavy bluesy riffs, like killer solos, weird little ditties that sound like a jig, but it also sounds like it could have been played to like the Wicker Man burning. As it were, it has quite an apocalyptic sound.
Would that be in Nicolas Cage's Wicker Man?
I think it deserves more than that. I'm going to go with Edward Woodward. So as you say, quite a cynical view of that, of organised religion, as it were. So with that in mind, I've produced a little quiz
Hey!
to see if you can tell your God from your rock. So this quiz is biblical song or Aqualung.
So is the question going to be, is this something that's sung in the Bible or a lyric from Aqualung?
It's almost like you've read my notes.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. What a great quiz title. All the work's been done there.
Yeah. So, who would be a poor man? A beggar man? A thief if he had a rich man in his hand?
Aqualung.
That does sound like something out of the Bible. I'm pretty sure that's like a Jesus parable.
Danny, you're correct. It's Aqualung. It is better to live alone in a desert than with a crabby, complaining wife.
Bible.
I'm going to go Bible as well. Yeah, that sounds Bible.
Proverbs 21:19.
Okay.
These people are not drunk, as you suppose, for it is only 9 o'clock in the morning.
Bible.
I'm going to go Aqualung on that one.
Acts 2:15.
Two ahead.
He is the God of nothing, if that's all you can see. You are the God of everything. He's inside you and me.
Aqualung. What a great song as well, by the way.
Your confidence leads me to think that is definitely
That is
Aqualung.
very correct, it's Aqualung.
Yeah.
I saw him in the city and on the mountains of the moon. His cross was rather bloody, he could hardly roll his stone.
Aqualung.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in the time of the Bible they didn't know if there were mountains on the moon or not, so it must be Aqualung.
It is correct, it's Aqualung. She lusted after their genitals, as large as those of donkeys, and their seminal emission was so strong as that of stallions.
I don't
Bible.
recall that in Aqualung. I'm pretty sure that must be in the Bible.
Ezekiel 23:19.
Wow, bloody Ezekiel.
Go up, you bald head! So he turned around and looked at them, and pronounced a curse on them in the name of the Lord. And 2 female bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the youths.
I definitely remember that from Sunday school. Yeah, that's Bible.
Bible.
Kings 2:23.
Kings 2:23, that's what I was going to say, yeah.
I think Danny just edged that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
By 2.
Sorry.
Edged it by 2.
Still not won a quiz. God.
Yes.
Next week
So
is my time.
So going on to like highlights from the album. I know you haven't asked me yet, but I'm going to tell you right now. So My God. So one of the lyrics you've taken that from. What a brilliant song.
That is one of my standout tracks also. That is. I felt it was like listening to the Book of Revelations and like Doom.
I have to say for my favourite song, track 2, because it was my first experience of jazz flute and it blew me.
Even before Anchorman.
It shook. Well, no, okay. Anchorman is my first experience of jazz flute. I really don't.
It's
like
a great first day move.
Will Ferrell. I can't stand him, and so.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Why? What's so offensive about him?
There's too much. I don't know. There's
I
too
think
much.
he's a bit too silly.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys who acts silly, expecting more laughter than he deserves. I don't know. I just don't like him. I'm not a Will Ferrell fan.
Are you more of a Stuart Lee?
Nah, I don't like Stuart Lee either.
Where are you at? What sort of? What's your like the gauge your comedy temperature?
I like someone who's got something to say. Like I really like Frankie Boyle. I think he said, you know, good commentary, a bit edgy, but social commentary is there. He's making a point. He's not just doing crazy stuff for the sake of it. You know, if you're gonna be silly, if you're gonna stand up and talk to people, you've got to be funny or be profound or whatever. But you've got to have a message as well. Whereas Will Ferrell is just like slapstick silliness without any talent.
I love slapstick and silliness.
But slapstick done well is great. But I don't think Will Ferrell does that. I think he just says silly things and expects a big laugh. Not
so, do we think?
So back to jazz flute. Yeah.
Do we think that Aqualung succeeded in their idea to make folk rock mainstream?
It's just when I listen to this, I almost felt like taking my headphones off and just going, who do you think you are? Like it's just they just break into these like soaring, joyful solos, and one of the solos is a flute solo. But I feel like a song that soars into a joyful, celebratory solo kind of needs to earn it. And I'm not saying they didn't, because the music is really good. But like that second song, it's about, if I read the song rightly, about a schoolgirl prostitute who is going out and sleeping with older men for money, right?
Yeah, but
and occasionally getting backstreet abortions. And then it just soars into this wonderful, joyful, flute solo where he's like playing so exuberantly, and then the guitar solo just follows it. And I was just like, what's going on in your mind when you wrote this? I love it. Like I really
maybe
enjoyed
you're
it.
imagining the DUP protesting outside that clinic,
And
and maybe they were then wanting to play this flute solo.
Maybe she just loves her work.
even the chords, like the opening riff on Aqualung, like it was just so in your face. I don't really know how to describe it, but I was instantly like grabbed and shocked by it. And then it was just a song about a homeless guy, but it was really like it had energy. There was like some kind of disconnect.
I feel like you're saying something. You're trying to say something negative, but it sounds quite positive.
No, I'm not.
Do you not think it's pretty though? Because like you got that like dun 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 dun, and he's sitting on the park bench.
But then,
it's like,
then the second
gritty,
line.
To be fair, if I had to describe most of the things we did during the day, I want that riff doing it for me. Though.
yeah.
Sitting on the toilet.
But yeah, like fine, it's sitting on a toilet, and I've had a shit, and it was great. Like it's just the second line. It just follows up with way too much like excitement. Like. Yeah, the first line makes sense, and the second line, it's just like jumping out of your seat every time. And I'm not criticising it. I just was never expecting it.
This makes sense maybe why he likes Lauryn Hill so much, because it's you know what you're going to get and it's easy to listen to. Maybe you just don't like stuff that's hard to listen to. And
I'm not saying I don't like this.
It's got something about it. Maybe just like boring music.
I mean, if you want to call, one of the greatest sounds of all time boring, you just need to listen to it again. And I'm not saying I don't like this. I do like this. I'm just telling you.
Your stars?
That's what I took. My stars. My star is in Aquarius, and I would give this 4 stars.
That is a really reluctant, joyful, good award you've given after such criticism.
I'm not going to take it away and listen to it on the reg.
I would give it 4 stars. But that's not because I didn't enjoy it. I think it's a great album. It's just it's not the best Jethro Tull album.
What's your favourite Jethro Tull album then?
I really like Thick as a Brick. But
No, clearly me and Chris haven't listened to that album.
No, this is my only Jethro Tull.
I would also give this 4 because on the scale of 5 being outstanding, 4 being recommended, I would recommend other people to listen to this album to get some kind of joy or nugget of musical goodness from it. So it has got a 4. And on that bombshell,
nothing more to say.
That shocking agreement.
So we all give it 4?
Yeah.
If that possibly could be the highest rated album we've ever given.
Wow.
So I'm taking it, of these 3 albums, your favourite album is Miseducation. Danny?
Aqualung.
I would go Aqualung as well. Confining Miles Davis to Final B.
Yeah, I kind of want to say Bitches Brew, but only to upset you.
I'm deeply offended.
In the genesis, or the prior to the genesis of this podcast, Simon, I was working slowly through this list of albums, listening to various ones off the 1001, and when I got to Miles Davis, Bitches Brew, I text Simon and was like, Simon, please tell me you didn't like Bitches Brew, because that was horrendous. It was one of the
Is
things.
this also one of those albums that you put on to try and tell people you are really cool, but actually the album is shit?
I can only imagine
you want
so.
other people to think that your music taste is so obscure and hipster that you must be cool.
Yeah, we spoke about that, didn't we?
That was the thing, yeah. But literally, when I
Junkyard.
listened to this, I was like messaging Simon and be like, Simon, please tell me something about this, because I hate it, and am I missing something? Like, what is? And you confirmed to me that it was wrong, and I was like, this is why we need to get together and talk about these albums, because we need to share our experiences, and
These are the important issues.
Yeah, I think so. Fuck Brexit, what do we think of Bitches Brew and Miseducation of Lauryn Hill?
Brexit Brew.
Brexit Brew. That's the title of this podcast. Brexit Brew.
It's hygienic as so in someone's mouth to someone's
else's
arsehole.
arsehole can be, yeah. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Better.
There we go. Lovely.
Fucking hell. Right.
So should we start a barbershop quartet? I really think we've made some progress.
So it'd have to be a barbershop trio.
I feel like we've done a better job with our barbershop trio work than we did in the podcast this week.
This will need significant editing.
Hello, God?
Yes.
Can I finish discussing Miseducation?
Well, I suppose so, but keep it short.
Okay, I will. Under 2 minutes, okay?
No.
90 seconds?
Okay then.
The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill
documents the development of Lauryn's response to challenges she faces in life. Initially, these are emotionally driven and rash, but ultimately arriving at a mature understanding that you must love and forgive others while staying true to yourself to develop and maintain your character. The first two tracks describe the breakdown of her relationship with Wyclef Jean, her bandmate in the Fugees, and are characterised by immature emotions of anger and resentment. To Zion then deals with her decision to keep an unplanned pregnancy, where she recognises her own feelings over the advice of people advising her based on her career. The next three songs critique her community. First, girls acting out trying to attract men, and men who act irresponsibly and pursue an appearance of wealth. Then she goes after hip-hop artists for portraying wealth as all important and not inspiring their community to better themselves. Then in Final Hour she states how it's possible to achieve success whilst living a moral life through a relationship with God. Then the next three songs return back to that failed relationship, but this time acknowledging that whilst people may mistreat you, what is important is your response. By keeping faith in yourself and God and ultimately forgiving people who hurt you will enable you to move on from that hurt. Nothing Even Matters completes the relationship arc as she describes a wholesome relationship built on mutual love, trust and respect. Everything and Everything complete the narrative of strength in the face of hardship and focus on staying true to yourself and in the face of adversity allows you to define your own destiny.